Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. National Security Minister Herman Francis breaks down the bail process after a police officer charged for murder was granted bail on Friday, the 4th of August. Francis says whilst being granted bail for a murder charge is uncommon, it is by no means unprecedented. Rochelle Gonzalez reports.
The officers of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force are celebrating a small victory after the police officer charged with murder for the 2018 killing of 22-year-old Ronnie Samuel was released on bail. Michael Vitalis was arrested and charged in August 2020 and was initially denied bail. However, the decision was overturned on Friday and the officer was granted bail in the sum of $120,000. Vitalis received strong support from the Police Welfare Association, as well as Acting Police Commissioner Milton Daisy, who expressed the hopes that the officer would have a speedy trial in order to know his fate. Speaking on the matter on Monday morning was Minister with responsibility for national security, Herman Francis. He went on to explain the purpose of bail, including the fact that it can be used at times for the own safety of the accused.
Bail is a condition where the judge or the magistrate has to be assured that you will return to court on the day of your hearing, that you're not a flight risk, that you're not going to interfere with the witnesses that are in this case, or that you yourself will be safe, because that is one of the things that conditions of bail look into, that if we allow you to go out there, whether there are persons who may want to enact revenge on you and this sort of thing. So sometimes for your own safety, you're kept inside. In the case of the police officer, I mean, the charge is there, but we also have to look at the situation as it unfolded on that particular day. So I think the judge, at the time, in her judgment, and based on what maybe the prosecutor would have said at the time, decided that he's not a flight risk, and that he's not in any danger, and that he will prepare himself for court.
Francis said the law changes very quickly and society must adopt said changes. He said whilst it is not exactly common, bail following a murder charge happens.
The very first time I got to know that a police officer or somebody could have gotten bail for murder was when I was in Barbados as an instructor. Mainly, not an instructor, I went to Barbados as a minister, and I was having conversation with the Attorney General at the time. And it was a police officer who had committed an offense, homicide. And he went to court and he begged for bail and so on. And there was a big legal battle in Barbados for him to get bail. Eventually the police officer got bail. Since then, I've seen other jurisdictions, including St. Lucia, where bail has been offered to persons who have actually committed murder.
Until the court case is completed, the officer will not be allowed to carry out his normal police duties as he is currently on suspension. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
The National Council on Public Transportation, NCOPT, has indicated that although schools have reopened, there have been no changes to the current operations of public bus operators. The Public Relations Officer of the NCOPT told Hot 7 on Monday that a series of meetings were held with various stakeholders leading to the reopening of schools. However, nothing has changed. The PRO says the question has been raised about 2 students being counted as 1 adult, and respective authorities have agreed to meet, negotiate, and get back to the NCOPT in approximately 3 weeks. Genevieve Gonzague tells us more.
Are bus drivers finally going to see any changes to their operations now that schools have officially reopened? Minibus operators have been clamoring for some time for an increase in approved passenger capacity. However, the Public Relations Officer of the National Council on Public Transportation, Dominic Lesmore, says drivers and officials are still in a state of limbo. Therefore, as it stands, there have been no official changes to the current operations of public transportation.
We had a meeting at the Ministry of Health conference room. We met with the Chief Education Officer, we met with the Ministry of Health, we met with the police and the rep from the Transport Department. The meeting was basically to update us on the protocol prior to the reopening of school. the chief education officer, she gave us an update as to how the schools will be functioning throughout the term. That was good information first, so that would allow us to make adjustment to our current rotation based on the influx of students we're going to be expecting. The Ministry of Health gave us an update also on the protocol, which is the same for the past couple of months: sanitizing, wearing of the mask, and social distancing. No indication as yet as to the increase in capacity, which was one of our main concerns.
Lesmore explained that now that schools have reopened, the question was posed as to what would happen to the clause in the Traffic Act that says 2 children under the age of 10 can be counted as 1 adult when it comes to seating. He says promises have been made to return to bus operators with a proposal, so for now, drivers are continuing to make do as best as they can.
The Ministry of Health officials are promising to look at the review and with a view of making recommendations to Cabinet to see what they're going to come up with first. That will take between 2 to 3 weeks. So as we stand now, our members are doing as the best they can, until we get further clarification in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
The PRO says the minibus sector is still holding out hope to be given the go-ahead to operate at full capacity.
One of our main concerns also is the wearing of masks. The lack of an SI for the wearing of masks by members of the public, and also in public places and on buses. We believe if that is made mandatory, we see an avenue where we could increase our capacity.
He says drivers have been struggling for quite some time now. However, they will continue to clamor and agitate for changes. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Genevieve Gonzalez.
Now back to the topic of schools. In the case of the Ave Maria Primary School, Principal Valerie St. Helen explained that the school was not able to reopen as planned on Monday due to an unforeseen emergency situation at the school just ahead of the scheduled reopening. Shaka Wooding tells us more.
Although the Ave Maria Girls' School was not previously anticipated to face a delayed reopening, the school did not welcome back its student body on September 7th due to emergency infrastructural work launched by the Ministry of Education following the discovery of raised tiles on the compound. School Principal Valerie St. Helen Henry believes that it was in the best interest of the student body to have this issue fixed immediately in order to avoid any potential safety hazard to new and returning students.
We were supposed to open today. However, we were monitoring the situation where we had some infrastructural work which started late because it was an urgent matter which had to do with the safety of the students. And we monitored it until yesterday, and between myself and the education officer, and I suppose the chief education officer, we had to make that decision that we need 2 days.
St. Helen Henry stated that the prevailing situation at the Ave Maria Girls' School was not pre-existing and was reported upon being discovered.
You have classrooms where you have tiles. The classrooms have been closed, you open and you realize everything is lifted, it's broken, and when you have children coming in, it's not safe. So we informed them, and then they had to take the decision because it was a matter of safety for the students. So our situation does not fall in terms of it was there previously, and as a result we are opening late because of that. But that ours was an urgent matter.
The principal went on to stress the importance of ensuring that students feel comfortable and safe as they return to the classroom, particularly given the circumstances of their departure.
We had to wait, and so we have to clean. We have to make sure the place, the dust and everything is washed out to ensure that the children will be coming into a safe environment. Our teachers as well, you have children with asthma and these other little respiratory problems. We do not want to take a chance and allow them in, and the place is not safe for them.
Students are set to commence on-compound instruction at the Ave Maria Girls' School on Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Jacques Wooding, Hot 7 News.
The mighty Gabby sang The Beach Is Mine in the 1985 hit Jack, and this song has been an anthem around the Caribbean for islanders speaking out against the privatization of beaches in their designated countries, as well as the preferential treatment being given to tourists who visit said countries. However, right here in St. Lucia, with the topic a hot-button issue of late, the Department of Physical Planning has sought to clear the air on the topic, answering whether the beaches really do belong to the much-discussed Queen's Chain and therefore to the people. Rochelle Gonzalez has more.
Have St. Lucians been getting the concept of the Queen's Chain and the beaches of St. Lucia wrong for the past 40+ years? For years, talk of the QC has always been connected to the island's beaches, with the main belief being that the general public has a right to access every single beach on island. However, with the advent of the Cabot development, which has garnered much controversy over alleged plans that would prevent locals from freely accessing a number of beaches in the north, the Department of Physical Planning is clearing the air on what has now been revealed as a common misconception. On Sunday night, Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Physical Planning, Hildreth Lewis, made this revelation.
The beaches are not part of the Queen's Chain. They're actually part of what we call the foreshore. And so the Queen's Chain is measured from where the, in some terms it's where the waves cease to have effect. In other words, where the vegetation starts from the beach going inland. So the beach is not part of the Queen's Chain.
This clarification was followed up by an even more sobering fact that would leave many locals dismayed.
Can we sell Queen's Chain?
It's not the convention to sell the Queen's Chain, although I might add that I have not come across any piece of legislation that expressly says that it cannot be sold. However, it is policy of our department from time immemorial to always recommend the non-sale of Queen's Chain.
Why is that?
Because we believe that it is part of the state's assets, and it continues to have tremendous benefits for the national good.
In other words, although it has not yet been done, and it would most likely not be recommended, it is not impossible to sell the Queen's Chain. Lewis further explained how one can achieve private ownership of said masses.
The Queen's Chain adjoins or abuts property on the inland, and those can be held in private ownership. Most of it are. In that case, whoever is the owner of the land that adjoins the Queen's Chain can apply to the state for a lease of the Queen's Chain, or for the portion of Queen's Chain that adjoins their property. And that can be for various uses. If the land is being used for residential purposes, then the Queen's Chain becomes just an extension of the residential use of the private property.
Lewis said by virtue of the fact that the Queen's Chain exists, that means that the beaches are all registered and identified as Crown property. He said the state continues to benefit from ownership of these lands, and selling it off would deprive future generations of having use for the resources. Reporting for Hot 7 News, I am Rochelle Gonzalez.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Stay with us. There's more after the break.